In this video, we're going to talk about how to install our lower chassis braces. The braces install between the front subframe here and the frame rail back here. There's the GT braces that came factory on the GTs and are sold by some of the other vendors. They require drilling holes in the front arm mount, and then they connect to this hole up here in the subframe. Ours run all the way past the front arm mount and bolt to this hole in the frame rail. Pretty straightforward to install. I have seen some interesting setups that other customers have managed to install them between the frame rails going this way, and they just we're not really sure where they go. So I'm gonna make a video and show you guys where they're supposed to go and what they're supposed to do. So they're supposed to tie this front subframe to the frame itself. This thing's kind of floating out in the breeze here, and so under braking you can feel well, you don't realize that you feel it, but when you add this brace, it feels a lot different. The car feels a lot more solid and it's much nicer to drive. So we're gonna do that as one of the first mods on this 244. When you buy the kit from Yoshifab, you'll get the two braces and the hardware required to install them. Super straightforward installation. So the braces themselves have two different size holes. The 10mm bolt goes in the obviously bigger hole, which is what threads into the frame rail. These frame rails are often covered in undercoating, so you want to make sure that the holes that you're going to use are clear of undercoating. We're going to use this hole here, which it obviously is pretty covered, and the car's been jacked up by the frame rail in a spot where it probably shouldn't have been, and it's a little crushed, so we may need to pull that out a little bit. Same thing with this side. Not a huge deal, but something that a lot of people are probably going to have to deal with. So we're going to use this hole in the frame rail. It's going to be the first hole, from this hole in the subframe. The chassis brace lines up with this hole in the frame rail, but in this particular car, it's just covered in undercoating, which is pretty common. Volvo put this stuff on pretty thick. We're gonna do the other side, same story. So you're going to use the 10mm bolt, and you're going to bolt it in this hole in the subframe. Don't bolt it real tight. We're going to use this to kind of pull the frame rail out because it's bent from being jacked by it. So just get it started. And then you're going to bolt it through the subframe. This is the provided lock washer and nut. So once it's threaded on through the subframe, you can tighten up the bolt in the frame rail itself. You can see it pull the dent out of the frame rail. And a 13mm end wrench. And that's one side installed. The other side's going to be just like that. Same exact process. And that's what your finished install should look like from underneath. And these are the biggest out of all the just like bolt-on braces and stuff that I've done on these cars. These braces make the biggest difference. Like, there's no question that the car is just a lot nicer to drive with these on it. It just feels much more solid.